here at Rose Quartz Mediumship podcast, where we simply adore anything and everything healing and metaphysically based. I want to talk for a moment about a recent experience that I had and the healing opportunity that came with it. So I recently got a sty in my eye, and it turned into pink eye. And it provided me the opportunity to be with and work on my perfectionism wound. And this is a wound that I've explored in lots of different ways and have taken layers of that onion off. And this is one of my favorite things about healing, is that there are always additional layers to the onion that can be explored. And we can see where we're still embodying that trauma or that wound. And so as I was saying, I recently got a sty in my eye, which turned into pink eye. And there are past versions of me who would not have recorded any content during that time. And something recently shifted inside of me. And I can remember the moment that it shifted. And that's the funny thing about healing, is that sometimes it's a moment in time and we can pinpoint it. And sometimes it slowly happens. And one day we just wake up and we're different. But recently I was in meditation, and it was a morning meditation, and something clicked where I just kind of said, I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks of me. And it was something that I'd been cognitively working towards, but hadn't had the felt sense of it, the body sense. I hadn't engaged my nervous system with that knowing that what anyone else thinks of me actually doesn't matter. And it clicked in the most beautiful way for me, where I was able to really see that, let me pause. I was able to feel it for the first time. And that was the big difference, where I had engaged my nervous system. But I was able to really feel the fact that when I get to the end of this human experience, I am not going to be wondering what a random person on social media thought of me. I'm not going to be wondering if people liked the way that I moved through the world. But what I knew in that moment is that when I get to the end of my human experience, I do not want to look back and wish that I had been more authentic, that I had allowed myself to move through the world in the unique and authentic way that I want to. And the thing that was holding me back from moving through the world and unapologetically being me was fear of judgment. And in meditation, something clicked for me. I hadn't even gone into the meditation to look at that, but that's what came out of it. And I can remember my eyes popping open and realizing in that moment just how profound that experience was for me. And everything really shifted that day. And if I'm being honest, I wondered, would it fade? Would it go away? But because I had engaged my nervous system, rather than it just being a cognitive thing that I was working on, it didn't go away. It's still here. And I'm sure that there's layers to that onion too. So back to my story. I have this sty in my eye. It turns into pink eye. Old versions of me would have stopped recording content. Hands down, no question. I've had things before where something happens to one of my eyes, I get a sty, I get something, and won't record any sort of content. And it wasn't even a question for me. It wasn't even like I sat there and said, should I record the content? Should I not? No, I'm going to record it. That didn't happen. It literally wasn't even a question. I just kept moving on with recording content as if I didn't have a sty and I didn't have pink eye. And this is what I love about the human experience, is that this sty and this pink eye gave me the opportunity to look at, sit with, be with my perfectionism. And during the days that I was experiencing it, and if you look, I still have a little bit of it. You can probably still see it in this video if you look closely. I was able to really look at and see that perfectionism, that fear of judgment, that needing to be perfect, because if I was perfect, then people would approve of the way that I move through the world. How ridiculous that was. We all have imperfections. Emotional, physical, psychosocial, all the things, right? We all have imperfections. What is perfect anyways? Who determines what is perfect? This is all part of life. This is all part of being human. And whether it's pink eye or whether it's a bruise or whether it's a cold or whether it's allergies or whether it's anxiety or whether it's depression or whether it's anger or whether it's insecurity, we all have it. We all have something that we're working on. We have something that comes up that's difficult. And if you know me, if you read my blog posts, if you listen to the podcasts, you know that I always find deeper meaning in everything that I'm experiencing in the human experience. And that doesn't mean that I sit there and question or try and figure out, why is this happening to me? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I will sit in meditation and say, why am I experiencing this? Or when something's happening in my reality, I'll say, why am I experiencing this? But it's a way of moving through the world that I have really adopted and embodied. And so at this point, everything has more meaning for me. Getting this sty, getting the pink eye, there was a healing opportunity there for me, and I knew it. And I didn't need to go looking for the healing opportunity. It just presented itself. And I got a choice of how it was that I was going to engage with that healing opportunity. And it looks different for me every time, right? When something pops up, sometimes I have to access courage, or I have to access some bravery, or I have to access some inner safety or some deep knowing in order to step forward. Sometimes it just happens, and I'm able to witness it and say, look at that growth. Look at that. That is such evidence of the growth and healing and personal development that I've been through. And so when this happened with my eye, and I just kept filming content, I absolutely loved it. In the evening, after one of the events of recording content, and I did have some people say, hey, is your eye okay? They weren't judging me. They were legitimately concerned about whether or not my eye was okay. And I answered them. I didn't get defensive. I didn't make it mean that they were judging me or something bad was happening or they were bad or they were judgmental. I didn't make it mean anything other than they cared about me and they wanted to make sure I was okay. And this is the thing that I believe. And it doesn't have to be your truth, but it's definitely mine. Everything in this human experience is an opportunity to heal, to grow, to expand, to be the most authentic version of us. And so when we get pink eye, or when we have a sty, or when we break our arm, or when we're sad, or when we have anxiety, or when we do something that is incongruent with who we are and we're not proud of ourselves and we're sitting in some shame or some guilt, we don't have to hide it from the world. We are all experiencing these things, and all of it has deeper healing in it if we want to allow it to be there. Ultimately, when I had this going on with my eye, I could have made the choice that I've made in the past to not record content. But I didn't make that choice. And so there's healing there. There is growth there. There's personal development there. And recently I was in a class and we were talking about this kind of approach to life, that for me, there's always something deeper in everything that we're doing. The universe is just trying to get me to be the most authentic version of me, to be the most healed version of me. And so it's the way that I approach life. And we were talking about that in class the other day. And then it made me laugh because just a day later, I have this going on with my eye. But if you adopt that kind of mindset, that everything, literally everything, is an opportunity to heal or grow or work on something inside of yourself. And working on yourself doesn't mean that you have to, sit there and grind all the time, but be introspective. Be curious. Be curious about why it is that you react and respond specific ways. Be curious about why you stop recording content or why you continue to record content. And there's different ways of working on all of our wounds and all of our trauma. And sometimes things happen in our reality, and it's so that we can witness our own growth, our own healing, our own expansion. That's still working on healing. And sometimes things happen to give us the opportunity to embody the work that we've been doing. And for me, that's what this experience was about. It was a way for me to embody not giving a fuck what anyone thought. And I have to say, it was so freeing. It was so freeing. And I really genuinely do not care if there's someone out there who judged me for having pink eye. And I really don't think that very many people are out there judging me for making content while I have pink eye. So, I know that this is a funny topic to chat about. But I think it's an opportunity to look at the fact that everything in our reality, literally everything, is an opportunity to heal. It's an opportunity to break old patterns, to embody new ones, wherever it is that we're in our journey. And we are in various different places in our journey with various different forms of healing. But everything is an opportunity to heal. And I think that there's a lot of beauty in that. So whether you are breaking your own patterns and need to witness it, or could witness your growth and your healing and your ability to break those patterns, or whether you are actively challenging the patterns that you have been embodying and you're ready to step out of them and you are working towards embodying new truths and new patterns, just remember that life is our opportunity to do that. Everything. As we move through our day, as we move through our week, as we move through our month, as we move through the year, there are countless opportunities for us to heal. Everything in this human experience is simply an opportunity to heal and be more authentic. I hope that you are having a beautiful morning, day, evening, or night, wherever it is that this podcast is finding you.